After nearly 50 years, the mystery behind the photograph at the end of The Shining has finally been solved. Who's the man behind Jack Nicholson's face in the photo of the Overlook Hotel 1921 July 4th ball? Kubrick used an actual 1920s photograph onto which he superimposed Nicholson's face using a photo-retouching process. "I very carefully photographed Jack," Kubrick once explained, matching the angle and the lighting of the 1921 photograph. The photograph of Jack's face was then airbrushed into the main photograph, and I think the result looked perfect. "I originally planned to use extras," he added, "but it proved impossible to make them look as good as the people in the photograph. Every face around Jack is an archetype of the period." Kubrick never revealed where he'd found the photo or who the people in it were. The original was never shown. Strangely, it was published in a 1985 UK book called The Complete Airbrush and Photo Retouching Manual. Apparently, no Kubrick fans ever picked it up, because the original photo went unnoticed until 2012, when a page from the manual was posted on a blog about vintage ephemera. That's how the face of the man who lent his body and pose to Jack Torrance was first revealed to the world. But the book gave no information about the photo's origin. The man at the center remained unknown. Enter into the picture Alasdair Spark, a retired professor of American Studies at the University of Winchester. Spark spent nearly a year investigating the origins of the Shining photograph. His first stop was, of course, the Stanley Kubrick archive, home to the production materials from all of Kubrick's films, now housed at the University of the Arts, London. The archive includes reproductions of the photo, along with Nicholson's portraits for the montage. But it contains no clues about the source of the 1920s original. Joan Honor Smith, the photographer who did the airbrushing, recalled that the image had been found in a Warner Bros. Photo archive. But no such archive exists. Spark contacted Warner Bros. And confirmed there was no photo archive at their California headquarters or in any of their UK offices. So Spark turned his attention to the man in the photo. Given his central position, maybe he was a known figure. Using facial recognition software, Spark identified him as Santos Casani, a dancer active in 1920s London. Additional photos and period footage confirmed the match. But that was only a part of the mystery. Where and when was the photo taken? And which archive had it come from? Working with Eric Tola, a visual journalist at the New York Times, Spark sifted through thousands of images: ballrooms, jazz clubs, hotels, theaters, restaurants, ocean liners, looking for a match through the ornate hole in the picture. Details from Casani's life, his dance school and public events covered by the papers helped narrow things down, but they still couldn't help identify the specific occasion. Some women in the photo wear heart-shaped details on their dresses, suggesting a Valentine's Day ball. Casani attended several such events, but none matched the hole in the photograph. Facial recognition on the other guests again led nowhere. Spark then tried the traditional route, reaching out to those involved in the Shining production. Sound editor Gordon Stainford, production designer Les Tompkins, Kubrick's assistant Tony Fruin, his daughter Katharina, his executive producer Jan Harlan. None could shed any light on the photo's origins. Finally, Spark contacted Murray Close, the unit photographer who'd taken the shot of Nicholson used in the final montage. Surprisingly, though he'd been interviewed before, no one had thought to ask him about the photo. Close remembered. The image came from the BBC Holton Photo Library, now owned by Getty Images. Spark reached out to Matthew Batson, VP of Getty's archive, and asked him to search for any image licensed to Kubrick's production company, Hawk Films. Batson found one, but it was not the photo from The Shining. Oddly enough, this photo too showed Casani shaking hands with boxer Primo Carnera at the Joy of Life ball at the Royal Opera House. As a fellow Shining fan, Batson was intrigued, so he kept digging through the library. And on April 1st, no joke, he found the right match. It was one of 3 photographs taken by the Topical Press Agency at a 1921 St. Valentine's Day ball, held at the Empress Rooms of the Royal Palace Hotel in Kensington, London. In the agency's records, the man is identified as John Goldman. Santos Casani was his stage name, one he only started using a few months later. At the time the photo was taken, he wasn't yet famous, just one of the guests at the ball and the winner of the Foxtrot competition that evening. That explains his prominent position and why searching for Casani in newspaper archives led nowhere. Among the belongings of Emilio D'Alessandro, Kubrick's personal assistant, whom I came to know well while ghostwriting his memoir, I found 2 prints of the Shining photo, one test version and one final composite. Comparing them to the Getty original, we can clearly see what was altered. Only Nicholson's head and neck were superimposed. Everything else is exactly as it was in 1921. Jack's head is slightly lowered, likely to compensate for Casani's sloping shoulders. John Smith airbrushed in a larger left shoulder and removed a white handkerchief from the jacket sleeve, perhaps because it would have distracted the audience from the Overlook Hotel caption. Interestingly, Jack Torrance's oddly specific posture, with some fans linked to occult symbols like the Baphomet, turns out to be nothing more than Casani's own casual stance. And the slip of paper he's holding? Probably a ticket for a dance competition, not some cryptic message planted by Kubrick to deepen the film's enigmas. Of course, everyone is free to speculate on art, but as so often with cinema, the mundane realities of production remind us that meaning is just as much in the eyes of the viewer as in the mind and actions of the creator. According to Kubrick, the photo at the end of The Shining suggests Jack's reincarnation, as if, as Grady says, he's always been the caretaker. Kubrick preferred not to elaborate further. It's the sort of thing that I think is better left unexplained, he said. Thanks to Alasdair Spark's investigation, the mystery of the Shining photo has now been fully explained. And yet, as Kubrick teaches us, a little mystery is always worth preserving. So we're now left to wonder. Casani died on September 11, 1983, aged 85. That means he lived long enough to see The Shining released in UK cinemas. Did he watch it? Did he recognize his own body beneath Nicholson's head? Or perhaps the face of someone he once danced with at their Valentine's Day ball 60 years earlier? Did he smile, seeing a moment from his past, now forever intertwined with that of Jack Torrance in the haunted halls of the Overlook Hotel, forever and ever and ever? And where might his ghost be dancing now?
Ha 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 ha!